Okay, so there's a lot of relevant Green Lantern related topics that I'd like to talk about, but they aren't each substantial enough for me to get an entire video out of them, so I'm gonna try this out. At the end of every month, I'm going to do a video that recaps all of the various Green Lantern things that happened so I can talk briefly about these topics while also making sure all of you don't miss out on anything. So this is the Green Lantern Roundup for April 2021. The month started strong with the simultaneous release of Geoffrey Thorne's first issue of Green Lantern and N.K. Jemison's penultimate issue of Far Sector. We recently saw the conclusion of Grant Morrison's run, and these two issues releasing on the same day really drove home the feeling of things changing. Even though there's still one issue of Far Sector left, the franchise has already taken the first step in an interesting new direction, where foundational elements of Green Lantern are being turned upside down and re-examined in brand new ways. If you want to know more, I did a video reviewing issue 1 of Geoffrey Thorne's new series that I'll link to at the end, but if you're at all curious, just know that I do highly recommend reading that issue. And if you haven't read Far Sector, do yourself a favor and give it a try. The entire series is only 12 issues, with one left to go, and it's one of the best runs of any Green Lantern book I've ever read. Next up, there's another Green Lantern book that may be on the horizon. DC recently dropped an interesting bombshell on social media, presenting fans with a list of 16 potential new series that would be competing against each other in a round-robin bracket, where fan votes determine the winner of each matchup and the last series standing gets made by the end of the year. It was confirmed during a Q&A with the various editors behind these projects that the winner will become a 6-issue mini-series, not an ongoing series. One of the pitches fighting its way through the ranks is Green Lantern's Underworld on Fire, a story that would star Kyle Rayner and Kilowag as they track down outlaws who have been waging war against the criminal underworld in every sector. The writer is Sina Grace, and the artist is V. Ken Marion. At the time of this recording, the only artwork we've been shown is this cover image of Kyle and Kilowag ready to pick a fight. The first round put Green Lanterns against a Wonder Woman spin-off book starring Etta Candy, and Green Lanterns won pretty easily. Round 2 was a lot closer, with Green Lanterns just barely beating Zatanna. In just a few days, voting will begin for the third round, where Green Lanterns will be up against a Bat book starring all of the former Robins, which, I'll be honest, it seems like it's gonna go really poorly for us, unless there's a large enough contingent of voters who are just tired of there being so many Bat books. But don't be too discouraged. Remember that interview with the editors I mentioned before? Well, when asked directly about what happens to all the pitches that don't make the cut, they stated several times that they still want to try and publish them somewhere, which may seem strange considering the whole thing was presented as a tournament with a single winner, but only until you realize why the round robin exists in the first place. When asked why DC decided to do a tournament bracket at all and how the votes were being counted, they basically admit that this has less to do with voting to determine a single winner, and more about measuring the demand for each project. The DC Round Robin is gamified market research. The pitch that wins the final round won't be the only one to become a miniseries, it'll just be the first one. Anyone on this list that generates enough buzz and support will likely come out eventually. Just look at JLQ or Justice League Queer, a book starring a team of queer superheroes that was eliminated in the first round. Between the people gushing over how much they'd love to see that concept realized and the people who think it's completely messed up to make everyone vote on whether or not queer representation shows up in comics, JLQ has received a significant groundswell of support, pretty much confirming that JLQ will see the light of day sometime soon. On top of this, one of the creators implied that the success of DC Pride #1 could have some positive impact on the future of JLQ before outright saying that the JLQ will appear in the pages of DC Pride #1. So what does that mean? It means that we're not voting to beat the other candidates. We're voting to show DC how many people there are who want this Green Lantern miniseries, regardless of how many votes anything else gets. So if you want this book to happen, you need to talk about it, engage with it, vote for it. Is it an incredibly manipulative way for DC to use its fanbase? Yes. Yes, it is. But we've already come this far, so we may as well try to get the most out of it. So hopefully we can make enough noise to see Green Lantern Underworld on fire sometime next year, even if it does get overwhelmed by a flock of robins. Next up, a new wave of Green Lantern Funko Pops inspired by the different Lantern Corps has begun to roll out. It started with Black Hand back in January, and this month saw pre-orders start for Black Lantern Wonder Woman, with a glow-in-the-dark variant. I don't know why they're suddenly giving us pops of prominent Black Lanterns 11 years after Blackest Night, and there's been no word on what the rest of the figures in this line will be. But if you like the look of these pops and happen to come across them for a fair price, don't hesitate, because it probably won't be long before some of them are hard to find. Lastly, we finally have some new information about the live-action Green Lantern TV series coming to HBO Max. It was just announced that Finn Wittrock, who's probably best known for his work on American Horror Story, will be playing the role of Guy Gardner. It's not a lot of information, but it's all we have to chew on, as details about this production are basically non-existent. Speaking of which, I also wanted to address the misinformation surrounding this show. About 6 months ago, they announced which characters would be in the Green Lantern HBO Max series. We know it will be a story spanning generations, starring Guy Gardner, Alan Scott, Simon Baz, and Jessica Cruz, while featuring an original character named Bree Jarta and a handful of popular alien lanterns. There's been no mention at all about Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, or Jon Stewart. As far as we know, they're not in the show. Out of all the characters who are confirmed to be in the show, only Guy Gardner has been cast. Anything you may have heard between the character announcement in October and the announcement of Guy Gardner's actor yesterday, whether it was about casting or filming, was unsubstantiated rumors and nothing else. That's why I haven't talked about it in a video for 6 months. My personal policy for rumors is that they're worthless until they can be confirmed, but once you confirm a rumor, it isn't a rumor anymore, so rumors are always worthless. Whether we like it or not, we do not know anything else about this show yet. Maybe that'll change soon now that casting has started to produce results, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Personally, I'm happy to see this casting news. It's proof that they're still working on this show, even though they haven't said anything about it in half a year. It's still not ideal, but I'm patient, and I'd rather they take their time and get it right, even if it means we have to do a lot of waiting. So that's the Green Lantern Roundup for April 2021. If you have something to say about any of these topics, or if there's anything you think I missed, let's keep the conversation going in the comments section down below. You can usually find me reacting to these developments in real time on Twitter, and I'll be back doing another one of these videos a month from now, so subscribe and hit the bell to make sure you're notified when that video drops. Until then, thank you for taking the time to watch. My name is Dan, we'll talk again soon.